Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever you're listening to this. This is To Raise a Child. I'm Nisha.
I'm Robert.
And today we're going to talk about being full-time parents.
What we consider that term to mean.
And just kind of go over how we deal with being full-time parents, both of us working.
What that means to us specifically.
Yeah, and just kind of what we're doing with that. You know, because luckily Robert is able to work full-time from home. I currently work part-time, but I am going to start a new full-time job. I'm making the leap back into full-time. So it's one of those double entendres, you know.
Where we're full-time parents as well as full-time employees.
Yeah. So it'll be an adjustment. I am scared shitless. But you know.
You're scared of new things though. You don't like change in general.
I don't.
I don't know why. Our lives are constantly in flux.
Well, this is true.
You would think you get used to it.
No, never. I don't know. With change, I don't know anybody who really likes change, though. I think we're all creatures of habit, and
I don't know. I think in my younger days, I enjoyed change. I enjoyed something new and different happening on a regular basis.
Well, when I was younger, that's all I knew was there was nothing stable. It was always change. It was always what's going to happen now, but that's a whole other thing. There was a lot of anxiety and worry involved in that. So it's a little bit different. But with us working, well, soon both of us working full-time and being full-time parents, there are a lot of struggles of just everyday life, trying to keep up with our schedule.
Quote unquote schedule.
Yeah.
It's really freeform. It's not.
We
have a set routine, but there's variations and things that go in from day to day. It's very fluid, put it that way.
Yes. But still, there's still struggles of trying to find or manage
the balance between it all.
Yes, and manage our time that we aren't working into being parents, into interacting with the kids, you know, homework and projects and PTA meetings that are, they're programs where our children perform and they just kind of lasso us into.
I do enjoy that aspect of it because whenever we were growing up, PTA meetings were this big thing that took forever, and now at least they have the program aspect where the kids are performing something, so you're getting something out of it at some point instead of just sitting listening to somebody talk for no reason.
The last PTA meeting I actually thought about becoming a registered voter. I know that I'm going to get shit for that. I'm not a registered voter. I know. Kill me.
Voting doesn't work, bro. It's just not real.
Oh, another thing about us is that we talk a lot in bits, like stand-up comedian.
Yeah, it's usually stand-up
bits or movie lines. We do a lot of movie lines as well.
Well, that's because we're nerds for pretty much everything.
Pretty much. But you know, it's really hard to kind of make everything work so you're as stress-free as possible. I know with parenting, stress-free is not
that's not attainable in general as a parent.
But it is really hard to maintain or keep separate the work life and the stress from that. Like if you have a bad day at work, you have to try really hard not to let that bleed into your home life.
That's really hard for me.
Because you work at home, especially.
I don't really get away from it.
You're like, here.
I mean, even right now, I'm looking at where I work. Like, it's right there.
And it's, you know, right now I'm working in retail, I mean, that's going to change soon, but I work retail. So not only do I have to deal with the personalities of the employees, I have to deal with the personalities
the
of
shitty
customers at the store I work at, and so
not have that bleed over to dealing with the kids and dealing with me, who sometimes needs kid gloves.
Yeah, you could say that.
I admit it. I'm no day at the beach, like Richard Pryor said.
But what is something that mentally, because I know that there isn't a whole lot we can do, from a financial standpoint to kind of give us a break as of right now. But what is something that you do mentally that kind of helps you separate the two? Especially,
like separate the work life from the home life type thing?
Yeah, especially since literally we are looking at your workstation right now.
I think that's where the pro wrestling aspect of it comes in, because you see me whenever I get involved watching WWE or ROH or New Japan or PWG. I go back to that point where I was a kid, and I just kind of get lost in it and just enjoy it and start figuring out, oh, well, in this storyline, this could happen, or, oh, well, this happened on social media, so it might incorporate, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I get engrossed. Well, me and Gabriel were having this conversation last night, as a matter of fact. He was talking about how annoyed he used to get with me whenever we were kids, because if I got into a certain type of music or a new band or whatever, I have to find out everything. Single thing about it. And he hated that whenever we were kids. He was like, dude, I don't care. I don't care what type of drums they use or where they grew up or any kind of shit like that. Just shut up and enjoy the music. And I get that to a certain extent, but that has carried over into every other aspect of my life. Like with Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so I know all of these backstories and all the shit that could have tied into the new shit and blah, 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 and it probably gets annoying to hear, but I don't care.
I actually like hearing
But it's the same thing
theories
with wrestling. There's so much wrestling going on, and I could just throw myself into it and completely detach from, not reality, but I can forget about the work stuff by focusing on that to transition back into the parent thing, because the parent thing never stops. From the time we get up in the morning to the time we go to sleep, we're parents nonstop. That's why we came up with the term full-time parent. It's not,
and this is not,
it's not a slight on anything.
Yeah, this is not taking away from anyone who.
No, because like our partners in parenting, Mandy and Gabriel. Mandy's my ex-wife. Gabriel's her new husband. We all parent together, and hopefully we'll have a episode on co-parenting at somewhere down the line, which I really want to do with the two of them because I feel that it would add something to it.
Yes,
It's not easy to be the other parent in that situation whatsoever. It's not easy to have them every other weekend or whatever, and we try to incorporate them in as much as possible, so we're all getting the most amount of time and the most
beneficial
time with everybody. If one of the kids has a program for the PTA, like you were just talking about, like
everyone's involved.
We tell them, and everybody's there, and it's the four of us with the four kids, and that's just, Noe and Logan aren't going to know any different because that's how they've been raised since the beginning. Chris and Kaylee are a little bit older, so they remember a little bit more before that.
Yes.
Like you and Gabriel have been involved in Noe's life since day one, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you were there whenever she was born.
Yes.
And then Gabriel came in shortly thereafter.
Yeah, about a year or so.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's all she knows.
Even with Logan. Logan is you and I's child, not me and Mandy's, like the other three are.
Yes.
But it's still a community effort with the four of us raising him as well.
Yes, everyone gets to smack our kids around.
We do believe in spanking our children.
Yes. Very much so. Not beating, spanking. There's a difference.
The punishment, not being ridiculous and just taking liberties with the children.
So wrestling's
my escape. Wrestling's my conduit between work and home. Even though it's the same place for me, I use that to kind of get back into, okay, I'm Robert again. I don't want to say corporate drone, but that's how I feel sometimes, where you're just like, you have to do A, B, and C over and over and over again.
Yes,
and checklist. It gets into that monotony, basically, and you just feel like a robot Like, I love my job. You know I love my job. But it's just one of those things.
I think everybody struggles with that.
Yeah.
As a job.
But I also, the wrestling helps bridge the gap between me and the kids as well. Because Chris, 14 years old, boy, grew up watching wrestling his entire life, absolutely loves it. He talks about the same stuff that I do. Oh, well, this happened and this happened and da-da-da-da-da. And
It's a family
it's a
thing.
bonding thing.
Yeah.
What was it? Last year, we went to ROH with the 2 older ones.
That was a lot of fun.
That was
so
a lot
much
of fun.
fun.
And, Logan is at that age where he just loves being active and dropping elbows on people. And
He's going to be the death of us.
he's a 4-year-old boy. He's going to be a stand-up comedian or a professional wrestler.
There's going to be something that he's doing. I don't know, but it'll be good. So with me starting a new job soon, I'm really going to have to find something. Like, I know that I sit in front of the TV with you guys.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. You do that more so because
It's what's on.
Yeah, but you also know that I'm into it, so you just kind of like let it go.
And I'm not saying I'm not into it because I love wrestling.
Yeah, no, you do, but you're not into it the same way that like me and the boys are.
No.
Or
I'm
me and
not.
Chris specifically.
No, I'm not. Because you guys will watch any kind of wrestling anywhere, any indie
That's not true.
promotion.
It's not any. Well, it's a lot, but
You would give any indie promotion a chance.
Yeah, I'd pretty much give any Indian a chance.
Just to find new talent or anything like that.
It's worked out. A lot of the
It
people
really
that
has.
I got you into on the indie scene are now WWE wrestlers.
This is very true.
I was talking about Tommy Inn before he got signed to WWE, and now he's one of your favorites, Aleister Black. So
He is my favorite.
just saying.
100%. 100%. I'm going to have to find something because you know me, I'm not good at releasing emotions or, kind of having that downtime. And I know that I'm going to have the drive to kind of...
Yeah, but that... I thought that for the longest time whenever I was working in the office, that's my downtime and that's my decompression time. But you're still dealing with assholes on the road. And that's 9 times out of 10 worse than dealing with anything you deal with in the course of the day.
Yeah, because we took the drive to my new office this morning, and that's going to be...
It was a Sunday as we did this and as we're recording this, and it was still assholes. Like, there was not a ton of traffic, but there were still assholes just cutting people off and like, I hate driving. I hate driving.
So that's something I'm going to have to...
Get acclimated to.
Yeah, that's...
But that's what I've been telling you this whole time. It's going to be an acclimation period. You got to get used to the new routine. And I know a lot of your fear right now with starting the new job is you're changing our routine and that you feel like everything's, just going to be chaotic and all that stuff, which it's already chaotic, so what difference does it make?
Yeah.
It's going to be a new routine, but it's going to take time for everybody to get used to it. It's not a big deal. And I know you stress about that a lot.
I really do.
I mean, since you started looking for a job, you've been stressing about that. And now that you have one, it became more real, so it's even more prevalent in your mind.
Yeah, because I've been looking for a new job for, since before Christmas, so a while now. But I'm also going to have to force myself into find something that I can, release stress.
But see, we were talking about that. You want to get back into photography and stuff like that, and you're not doing it for any financial gain or anything like that. Just something that you can enjoy,
Yes.
I have a myriad of things that I do. I listen to music. I write certain music and stuff like that. I watch professional wrestling. I have the podcast with Jimmy and Gabriel and you now. I don't know if you're going to be regular or if you're going to in and out type thing. But
I love busting your guys' balls. It's so much fun. Oh my God, it's so much fun. But yeah, I mean, I know that, especially with trying to get back into photo editing, especially, because I did graphic design and all of that in high school. And I did it as a pastime, just kind of here and there. But I think getting back into that would, and there is monetary gain in that. Now, I'm not doing it professionally, but...
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is you're not looking to create a career out of it. You're looking at it from a hobby and or release perspective where you just have that creative outlet, basically. which is why I wanted to get back into podcasting, because I talk a lot, and why not make something productive out of it?
This is very true. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And the reason,
which part?
Oh, photography and getting back into that.
Just doing something creative with it.
Yeah, because I'm not a writer. I hate writing. I hate writing.
Which is stupid, because you're the one that is the syntax grammar Nazi motherfucker out of the group.
But when
you've calmed down on it, but you're still that person.
I am. But when it comes to like creating my own stories or poetry, it seems daunting, not enjoyable. I hate writing.
You're clearly not a writer, because you have to see whatever your hobby is, you have to see the joy in it and see the art in it. And because you love reading, you absolutely love reading new stories. It's just the creative aspect of the story you don't really care for. I have a hard
time, and I think I'm not a writer. I'm just not. I don't think I've ever been. Like in school, when you had to take those standardized tests and you have to write.
Those things are bullshit, but that's another story.
Yeah. But, you have to write your essay and blah, 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 blah. But they beat the same formula, the same pattern into writing said essay that, it was easy to do because there was a formula behind it. It was
see, that's the same thing with creative writing. There is a formula to it. There's an A, B, and C. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a conflict, a resolution. You have the same typical archetypes in the stories. You have the protagonist, the antagonist. Somebody might go one way or the other and then flip in the middle of the story,
Yeah, but doing it for a test and literally bullshitting my way through an essay that I got the highest marks on should not be the way that you look at your art.
Very true.
It should not be, I need to bullshit my way through this story. And
I feel like there's a lot of authors that do that now, though.
Not the ones I read.
Well, what's her name? The 50 Shades of Grey chick. What did that start out as fanfic?
It did. It started
out as bullshit. And
Twilight fanfic.
It became a multi-million-dollar fucking whatever saga, I guess. Which is ridiculous, but that's another story.
We have so many things we talk about. God, just taking a step back and looking at all the weird shit we talk about. Sorry, that just hit. It made me realize that
we already explained that it's an ebb and flow to the conversation, and that sometimes we tend to veer off from the original topic.
We talk about so much random shit. Anyway.
But it all ties in.
It does.
We were talking about
release and
having that
stress.
hobby to get away from the monotony of day-to-day work life, quote unquote.
Yes. So what do you think as a team, as a married couple, what do you think our biggest success or our strength is in balancing our home life with work life?
I think it's that we don't fall into the typical gender-defined roles. And I don't mean that we have fluid gender or anything like that, but like
it's not the 1950s.
Yeah, I'm not above cleaning the house. I tend to clean the house a little bit more than you do, and that's not a slight against you. It's just
certain parts of the house, yes.
Certain parts of the house I clean more than you do. You handle the kitchen. Again, that's not because you're a woman or anything. It's just because I don't touch your fucking kitchen because I don't want to get stabbed.
That is my kitchen.
And I understand and appreciate
and law
that.
In my kitchen.
But at the same time, we also have the kids, and the kids have their specific roles. The older two are the primary ones that clean their bathroom. Noe helps a little bit because she's getting a little bit older and we're starting to incorporate her into more. But Noe and Logan are responsible for their room. Each of the kids is responsible for their own room.
Yes, their own laundry.
As opposed to us being the ones to clean up after them all the time. We don't, I know this is probably going to rub people the wrong way, we don't allow a lot of toys in our living room because it's the family room. It's not the kids' room.
Yeah, it's not a playroom.
Yeah. If they want to play, they're more than welcome to go into their rooms, play with whatever they want. They very often destroy their room, especially the little two. Mm-hmm. But they also know that once they destroy it, comes the cleanup after the fact.
Yes.
So I mean, but growing up, I didn't have that structure. I was somewhat responsible for cleaning up my room, but if it went long enough, Grandma didn't want to see that shit, so she'd end up cleaning it up sometimes.
See, that's where
But I was also not a very unclean child. Like, me and Gabriel told you stories about Jimmy and how awful his house was.
Yes.
But that's just the way.
Not his house, his room.
There was his room. It was him, his brother, and his two sisters, and they all just kind of did whatever the fuck.
Yeah, with me, that did not fly growing up. There was no... I mean, when I became a teenager, you know, my mom would just kind of close my room if I didn't clean my room. But, you know, I was a child of a single mom, so, you know,
She didn't have a whole lot of time to clean up after you either.
Yeah, because she worked full time, and, you know, I just went to school, so, you know, I still had to vacuum. I had to do the dishes. I had to clean things up. You know,
as you should as a child. You should have certain responsibilities.
Yes, and that's part of our parenting style. We are preparing our children to be self-sufficient when they leave this house,
like to where they know how to clean up after themselves. They know how to wash their own clothes. Because for the longest time, I did not. I will freely admit that I didn't learn that until I was much older. I mean, I knew how to do it, but I didn't really do it whenever I was with Grandma and Grandpa. That's one of the few things that I could thank Mom for. Because whenever I was living with Mom, the short stints of time that I had to do all that. So it served a purpose in the aspect that I did learn how to clean up after myself and keep the room tidy because I didn't want to have to do it later, basically. So I guess in a sense that was kind of the laziness also rearing its head. Like, well, if I just pick this one thing up now, I won't have to do a whole bunch later, so... Yeah. It's like Bender whenever he creates the multiple copies of himself. Like, wait. I only have to do 1/10 of a thing? Sweet. You know, that type of thing.
I was the one who always waited until, like, I knew what time or about what time my mom would get home.
Oh, you were the procrastinator. I could never see that happening.
Shut up. But I would wait until, like, the last minute to...
You know, I still do that sometimes. Like, if I say I'm going to clean something and you're at work, I'll be like, you'll text me and say, oh, I'm on my way home. I'll be like, ah, shit.
But you know you have time. You have a certain amount of time to get things done. So, I mean, it still works out.
For the most part. Sometimes things don't get done, but that's because we're both procrastinators, and then we feel bad for the kids because it's like, well, we're being lazy as fuck, so we can't really tell them anything. Like... On what was it, last Friday, because they were with us last Friday. They were with Mandy and Gabriel this weekend. But Friday night or Friday after school is typically whenever we have them clean the bathroom and clean up their rooms and stuff, just so everything's copacetic for the weekend and they could just relax Saturday morning or whatever.
Yeah.
That didn't work out last week.
No.
I was just like, I don't want to clean either, so whatever, just chill out and
Oh yeah, I had to work last weekend.
Yeah. So I had them clean Saturday morning whenever you were at work. And it worked out, but it's just, you got to be even-handed with it. You can't say, well, you got to do all this, but then you not do anything in return. We try to lead by example the majority of the time. Sometimes there are times where it's just like, no, you're going to do what the fuck I tell you because I'm the parent and you're the child and you're going to do what I tell you. And I never wanted to be like that.
Yeah, I know.
But as I got older, I realized, no, that's for a reason.
Yeah, the kids they're children. They don't need to know why we're asking.
They just need to know that this needs to get done regardless.
Yeah, we wouldn't ask them to do anything that we would ourselves would not do. So, do you feel that there's any place in our parenting or balancing parenting and, you know, work life that we're kind of lacking?
At times, but I mean, that goes with everything because there's certain times that I feel like, I think any parent can identify with this, where you have those days where, like my day on Friday, it was just a shit-tastic day. Every single thing that could go wrong with work did go wrong, and I felt like I was chasing my tail all day, to the point by the end of the day, I was just beat down and didn't want to do anything. Yeah. And those are the days that I tend to drift away from you and the kids a little bit I mean, you not as much because I can vent to you and you understand where I'm coming from because of the trials and tribulations of having a job. But the kids don't really get it, and at the same time, I don't want to burden them with it at 14, 12, 7, and 4 because you got plenty of time to stress over all that shit once you hit our age.
Exactly.
You know, and it's the same reason we don't discuss like money and stuff around them. You just don't put that on them. It's not their issue type thing.
Exactly. Now, well, going from, there's days where, we have bad days and we may not take it out on the kids.
I will freely admit I have taken it out on you and the kids before.
Well,
it's not something that I'm proud of. It's just, how I process things. And before, I wasn't the best at it, and everything would turn into hostility or anger. And it's just like, if I'm having a bad day and somebody says something, like one of the kids does something wrong, if I'm already having a bad day and they do something wrong, I'm going to go off on a fucking tear about it. Whereas if I'm having a good day, well, like what was it, Thursday or whatever, Logan got in trouble at school because they were messing around in class or whatever. I was having a good day that day. So it's just like,
let it roll.
You know what? You've been doing pretty good. Don't worry about it. We need to have a better day tomorrow. And he did have a better day, thankfully. But if that same day had happened on Friday, I don't know that I would have reacted that way. I could have just completely lost it, and he ended up
in more trouble
whenever basically. And it's not healthy to do that. I'm fully aware of that, but it comes with life at times too. Like I don't want to do that, but at the same time, I think it's important to the kids to see that every day is not a ABC kind of day. It's not
every day you can be proactive.
Exactly. Not every day you can be in full control. Some days you're going to have those days where you need a break, when you need to break down, when you need to not lash out, but to express those feelings that you have.
And they may come out in a harsher way than you really mean to.
With me, that tends to be the case. With you tend to cry and stuff like that. But that's how we've learned how to cope with things over the years. I have anger issues. Had anger. Well, I mean, I guess it's like an addict. You never really don't have the anger issues, I guess. But, and you have learned to process your emotions a little bit better to where you don't react that way to everything as well. You don't cry for everything. There are certain times where it just builds up and builds up and builds up to where you'll see a commercial or something and then you'll just start blubbering.
Those fucking
ASPCA.
Yeah, there you go. The animals. The sad animals. They make me cry. Like that Sarah McLachlan song can kiss my ass. I'm fucking arms of an angel. I know. And I just want to adopt all those little puppies and kitties.
We're not adopting those.
I know.
We have 4 animals in our house right now.
Yeah, I know.
6 if you count us.
We are animals.
For the most part.
Yeah. Now, when we have those days and we have those what it seems to be weeks or months of just
the drudgery.
Yeah, and we feel like we need a break. With being the full-time parents, we don't get those breaks. And
as often. We have to admit we do get breaks because even with the co-parenting aspect of it, Mandy and Gabriel have been very accommodating. Whenever they'll have the 3 kids, we'll be like, hey, we want to go out to the movies or something or go eat dinner, and they'll be like, dude, just bring Logan over and we'll watch him, because the other 3 call them mom and bonus dad, but he looks at them as, well, that's Uncle Gabriel and Aunt Mandy.
Yeah, that's
he doesn't call them that, but he doesn't have to. Like, him and Gabriel are best friends, and it's so adorable. But
it's hilarious.
But we do get breaks, but it's
not as frequent.
It's few and far between compared to some of the other parents that we know. And
yes.
Again, that's not a slight or anything. That's just the way it's worked out so far, because we personally feel like we have control issues, I guess. Well, not I guess. We have control issues.
Definitely.
Where we always feel like we have to be in control of everything. And I think that's what leads to a lot of it. So, in a way, we're perpetuating our misery. Well, not misery, but
anxiety.
Our anxiety, because
stress.
we're not letting that release valve off and being like, hey, we need help with this. Hey, can y'all watch the kids? Can you do this? Can you do that? Type thing. We like being the ones in control of all that.
That also comes with trust issues, too.
But it's not trust issues in that sense.
Well,
because
no, not in that one.
We trust anybody that we would ask to watch the kids.
Very true. We wouldn't just ask random...
Like, hey, I know you on Facebook. You want to watch my kids? Like, no, that shit doesn't work like that.
Not even a little bit. Now, do you feel... When it gets to that point where you're like, I'm fucking done. These kids have been acting brand new all week. You know,
I love that phrasing, by the way.
You know, the job's been shit all week. Stress level, anxiety levels. You know, you've been stuck in your own head. Do you ever feel guilty for saying, fuck,
Absolutely.
I need a break. I need time away from these people I produced.
The logical side of my brain is like, yes, you need this, because, I mean, we've had that conversation ad nauseum, that sometimes you have to detach. And, like, I'm talking to you. Like, you have to detach.
I do.
But
I don't. But
like,
I do.
that's the logical side of me. That's like, okay, yes, we do need those times away, not to appreciate it, but just to recharge a little bit, you know, to, like, okay, Bubba and Crystal came into town a couple of weeks ago, and the four boys were all going to go to a show to see friends that we've had and shit like that through the music scene. We decided not to do that. Instead, we took the four couples as adults, all the kids, you know, stayed at home. Our kids are old enough, or one of them's old enough to watch the other ones, and same with Jimmy's kids. And we all just went out. We went to dinner. We went to Top Golf. That kind of went to shit, but
it was actually
we
fun.
played mini golf, and like we got to be people again. And I think a lot of parents lose sight of that they are still people. They still have an identity outside of just
mom and
the
dad.
Parent thing.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact we lose sight of that on a regular basis.
100%. I know I do.
Because, I mean, we act stupid all the time. And, like, especially whenever we all get together, we're all laughing like fuck and just having a good time. But we're having the good time in the context of our kids are still around and we're still being parents at the same time.
Yeah, because usually it's still, oh, we'll laugh at this joke, ha ha ha. And then, really? Are you guys wrestling? And why did you put your brother in a chokehold?
Exactly.
And, you know,
that happened last night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's why I said it. It's you still have to stop and be, you know, the authority figure.
But whereas that weekend that we were all together,
we got a little bit of time.
We sat around dinner. We were just cutting up, annoying the fuck out of everybody around us.
That was so lady. That was so funny. That lady in the booth that was catty-corner from us.
Yeah, she kept
was staring at
eyeballing
us
all of us
hard.
But I mean, it wasn't like we were being obnoxious or anything. It's just that was one of the few times that the 8 of us have got to be out together without the kids or anything, like any of our kids.
Yeah, 0 children, 0.
I mean,
minors.
People would argue that me, Jimmy,
giant.
Gabriel, and Bubba are giant children, especially you guys, but whatever. But we just got to enjoy each other's company for once, you know, and there was less stress from all the parents because we weren't having to worry about getting onto our kids or what our kids were getting into or
keeping a head count.
If they were fighting or whatever the situation could be. We just got to chill and just laugh and have a good fucking time.
That was a lot of fun. We needed to
do was. And that's what I was telling Jimmy and Gabriel last night. Like, we need to do that more often, just the adults. You know, even if Bubba and Crystal aren't in town, like, we could still fucking hang out. Like, and me, Jimmy, and Gabriel have gotten better about all hanging out, us as our families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, we grew up together. The fact that we're still friends is mind-boggling, but...
You guys are all assholes.
Okay, I'll give you me and Gabriel. I can't say Jimmy's an asshole.
Well,
not to us, at least.
Okay.
Other things could be said about Jimmy, but... Love him. You know I love him. And I think he would agree with that he could be an asshole in certain situations.
This is true.
But that notwithstanding, you know, it's like we need to make it more of a priority to spend time with our friends. Not necessarily, a guy's night, girls' night shit, but
I mean, that works for some people.
It does work for some people. It's just, me personally, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, I would much rather spend time with you and everybody else than me going out with the boys or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a designated, like...
9 times out of 10, if me and the boys go out, somebody's going to scream, "You want to get these hands?"
Bad
and
news.
it's going to go bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 9 times. I would say 7 times out of 10 the peacekeeper. Sometimes I'm the antagonist.
Yes. Do you feel it's normal for us to feel guilt from needing to be away from our children?
If you're doing it right, I would think so. Like,
there's that twinge of guilt.
There should be, and that could be, the whole being brought up Catholic thing. The guilt's built in. But I don't think it's a bad thing, to have guilt in that, because you should want to be a parent all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you should also have those times to decompress, but still be like, I don't know if I should.
Have your reservations.
You have your reservations about it, but ultimately you do it anyway because you know it has to be done. It's like we tell the kids all the time. You're not going to like everything you're going to have to do in the course of life. You're really not. But there's certain times that you're going to have to do things that you don't like just because that's life. And that's a shitty thing to think of, but it's absolutely true. There's been so many times that you and I, in our adult life, have just had to suck it up and deal with shit that we don't want to deal with because of work. Otherwise, we don't get paid. Otherwise, we don't have a job, or whatever the situation may be.
Bills don't get paid.
Basically, and it's just one of those things, You should have a certain apprehension, but you should also push through that apprehension and be like, you know what? I need to do this. I need to take time for myself or ourselves or whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, because I think that with kids, especially with having multiple kids, that
it can get overwhelming very quickly.
Very quickly.
Especially like whenever we had that one week, like a month ago or whatever, where it was like Kaylee had this thing, Noe had this thing, and then this had to happen, and that had to happen, and then the kids were getting sick in the mix of that. And it's just
it
was
Logan
a
missed
nightmare.
2 days.
It was a nightmare that week.
Yeah,
but ultimately everything got done and everybody got through it.
Yes, but and that kind of leads into like self-care and not necessarily leaving your kids, like with a babysitter, or like we have, a teenager.
We have
in the
a
house.
built-in babysitter, basically.
Yeah,
not take advantage of that, obviously.
But I just mean like routine self-care. Taking 5 minutes to regroup or.
Well, see, and that's one of the other things. Like, you guys make fun of me because I take my long showers.
But that's part of your self-care.
That's part of my
time.
self-care. That's my time where I can just focus on the water and, the white noise aspect. And it's a decompression thing. I've been doing it more going to bed because it helps me, like, relax and go to sleep and stuff like that. But
see, that's what I think. That's where you are a little bit better. A lot bit better than I am, because you know your limits.
But see, I've been doing it for 14 years now.
This is true.
I have a little bit of head start on everybody else.
Yeah, and I've been an active parent for 7 years now.
7 years, yeah.
So
coming up on 7.
Yeah. So, but that's where my nature and your nature kind of fork off and split, because you're like, no, I need time to decompress.
But I wasn't always like that. It's like what we talked about. Like, we're not just raising our children, we're raising ourselves as well. It's a learning process for them the same way it's a learning process for us. And I had to learn that about myself. I had to learn that it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to need to get away for a minute or to focus on something else so you can be back at full capacity for the kids thereafter.
And I'm still working on that part because I have a big problem with.
I'm still working on that part. It's not easy for me either because sometimes I just get sucked into all of it that I feel like I have to focus on all of this shit all of the time.
You have to give your all, even if there's nothing to give.
Exactly. And even though I might not need to, like you got it under control, or Mandy and Gabriel got it under the control, or hell, even the kids have their shit under control.
This is true.
You know, I feel like all four of us put the weight of the world on our shoulders, and that's not just with the kids, that's with everything in life.
Yes.
You know, we feel like we have to be the providers, we have to be the support, we have to be everything to everybody all of the time.
And I'm speaking for just me, because I don't want to speak for everyone, especially the parents in our group. You know, and that comes from just situations that we've been through, that we can't depend on anybody else to get things done, to, make sure that everything's
and sometimes
okay.
that has been the other parent. You know, there have been times where I've dropped the ball. I know that. And vice versa. You know,
Yes.
It's like we've had to pick up the slack for each other. And I think the reason that our relationship works is because we have an open dialogue about that. It's not pointing or placing blame on the other person. It's just, look, you need to focus on this right now. I got this. You know, and a lot of people don't do that. And I think that could be some of the problem with the next generation coming up and Chris and Kaylee's generation.
Lack of communication.
It's a lack of communication, but it's also a lack of care or want too.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the circle of friends that we have. Like, we may just run each other into the ground sometimes, talking shit. And, you know, we're mean to each other, quote unquote. But we all love each other. Like, we have all been there for each other.
100%.
And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for the other 7, and vice versa. You know?
Yes.
In our little group.
Yes.
And that of course, that extends into, you know, my cousin Vic and Crystal, my sister, and all that stuff. But, like, typically it's the 8 of us that we consider
the vast majority
the
of the time it is
family or whatever.
Yeah. That's not blood family.
That's not blood family, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, what the fuck does that matter?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying because you keep including, you know, your cousin, and they're blood related. Yeah. So obviously they're automatically in the picture for our little group.
Yeah.
Now, when trying to work self-care into your regular routine, do you feel like you miss out on anything, or do you think that, you know, that's, I mean, obviously it's important time, but do you feel guilty for self-care? I mean, I know that, you know, we talked about, you know, getting away and stuff like that, but do you
part and parcel, it's all the same thing, you know? Like, yes, there is that, I don't know if I should be focused on this, I don't know if I should be worried about this.
It's always easier to put yourself on the back burner.
It is, especially with the personalities that you and I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we have to take care of everything. We have to do everything ourselves because we don't know if anybody else is going to, and blah, 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 which is not remotely true.
No, because actually, and, you know, we think we're screwing things up all the time anyway, but, you know, to be honest, if we're really evaluating our parenting and how well we've done, if left to their own devices, the kids would be okay for the most part. Like, if we took a break, I mean, not like a long break or anything, but
if we needed a night, just be like, look, y'all got to figure shit out tonight. They know, they have their routine. We have never done that, by the way.
I don't think we would.
No, we wouldn't. But if we needed to, like, okay, say, God forbid, something bad happened with one of our families and you and I had to go handle something or some shit.
Yeah.
We could trust the kids to know, look, this is what's going on. This is what needs to be done. And we can trust them to get that done. You know, especially with Chris and Kaylee, because they act so much older than they actually are.
This is true.
I mean, Chris is already taking the initiative to, you know, help, like, our morning routine. It's like, you got to get the kids up, got to make sure they're getting dressed, brush your hair, brush your teeth after they eat breakfast, you know, and get everything done and get everything ready so we're hitting the door at the time we need to hit the door.
Yes.
And Chris is very instrumental in getting that done. He's not overbearing or bossy or anything like that. He knows that everything has to be done on a certain schedule. And if I'm running behind or if I'm doing something with work, I can tell him, hey, can you brush your brother's teeth or whatever? And he can get it done quickly and there's no problems. He doesn't pitch a fit like, oh, why do I have to do it, Dad? Like you see those shithead teenagers on TV.
Yeah.
He's very understanding and accommodating. That's why I say he and Kaylee both, because Kaylee will do it too if we ask her. They're both wise beyond their years. They understand that we're not telling them to do these things because we're being assholes necessarily. I mean, I like being an asshole, but we're doing these things so they get in the routine and they get in the habit and they understand that certain things have to be done at certain times in order to make everything work the correct way.
Yeah. So if we needed them, that we could take time for our self-care and things like that, then they would be okay. So we shouldn't necessarily feel...
We shouldn't have to rely on that, but
yeah,
it's nice to have that safety net below you to where you know that we're parenting in such a way where they understand responsibility at their age. And a lot of people in their generation don't get that.
And they also understand that as parents and as people that we do need breaks. And that's also easy, or makes things easier, because they understand that, we are adults and that we do need adult time. Then we don't need to be around the kids all the time. They understand that.
But that also comes with the honesty that we've shown our kids, where we have said, whenever, again, Bubba and Crystal are in town or something like that, it's like, look, we love y'all. We want to be around you guys all the time, but sometimes we just need to hang out with our friends. We don't do it very often.
Yes.
But it's one of those things. It's just like, you have to understand that you guys are kids. We treat y'all almost the same way we treat regular adults. But we don't dumb down anything. We talk very frankly and honestly with them about everything.
We do.
And they understand that there are certain times where it's just like, you know what? Let's give them a moment. Let's just, we can chill in our rooms, play with each other, and they can basically play with their friends, like
the other kids that come over.
Basically, yeah, they understand that. And the fact that they understand that is mind-boggling.
I think it's great. Because, with my personality, I feel guilt about everything. I apologize for things that are not even my fault. I just, I just hope I don't, implant that in the kids. Like I said earlier, we feel like we're screwing things up anyway. So. But
sometimes, I hate using this old adage, but it's so appropriate. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. You're not going to get everything right 100% of the time. You're just not. I don't give a shit how many books you read, how many kids you have, how long you've been a parent, anything like that. You're going to fuck up. Period.
Because we're all human.
We're all human. Nobody's fucking perfect. It's going to happen.
I agree. But
that doesn't take away the fucking shit in the back of your head telling you you're going to fuck everything up.
Do you feel that more parents need to feel that way, or that we're all kind of on the same page?
I would like to think that we're all on the same page, but I know just seeing kids in our kids' generation that is not the case. That people think that just because they're buying their kids the new Jordans, or they have this waiting for them whenever they turn a certain age, that's what's important. They don't push the importance of family, of togetherness, of being there for each other like we do. Responsibility. I mean, that's a big thing in our house. Responsibility is a very big thing in our house.
And accountability.
You have to understand all of those things to be a productive member of society. And I don't think, just based on what I've seen, that is as prevalent as it should be in our generation of parenting and their generation of kids.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. Or not at all. I can't say that, because not all of the kids that are kids right now.
I mean, we've had those, but the way I know it's not prevalent is that whenever there is another child that is not ours that is respectful, we are genuinely shocked and surprised.
100%. Like that one time we went to the movies and we saw it was just some random teenager who saw an adult that they knew, and they're still yes ma'am, no ma'am, and it's not like they're
so seldom now.
Yeah, and it's not like they were with their parents and
my
parents are standing right there.
It was a couple of friends and they saw another adult that they knew and they were very respectful. And it was just one of those things like, wow. That does still happen, but it doesn't happen as much as it should, I feel.
I think it's moments like that, though, especially in this generation, in this day and age, that we need those moments. That in the sea, in the abyss of assholery that is the young people of today, and I know that sounds like we're being the old crotchety people.
I am the old crotchety person. I will freely admit that.
But we need those moments to kind of stop and evaluate.
And be like, no, it's not all of them. It is not all of them.
It's not all of them, and maybe we're not fucking up as much as we think we are. Because when shit like that happens, it's like, wow. Or the reverse of that, when we see some little punk son of a bitch who's like being an asshole to an old lady or being an asshole
that one time we went to Waffle House and that girl was with her grandmother.
Oh,
and she was just laying into her grandma. Yes, it was your birthday. Happy birthday. But it was just one of those things. It's just like, I get having issues with the older generation that raised us. I totally understand that.
But to be disrespectful about it.
And not even just disrespectful, but disrespectful in public to the point where everybody in the restaurant can hear your conversation. Yeah. I would have never been able to get away with that.
Neither would I.
I would have gotten smacked to the floor in public if I had done that.
Yeah, my mom would have like knocked my teeth down my throat. Like that would have been my breakfast. Teeth. Like that's just, but we also need moments like that to really say, wow, our kids would never act like that. Our kids would never do
that. Makes me think
that.
Of whenever we're like in the grocery store or something with the kids and they see somebody their age just acting a goddamn fool. And immediately, every single one of them will look, like all four of them, even Logan, who is 4, he'll look and be like, oh, I'm not going to act like that.
It's funny to watch
they get like, scared for themselves because they're afraid that we're going to hit them for how stupid somebody else is acting.
They're assholes collectively clench.
And they're just like, no, that's not the way it goes.
But
see,
I think
then that affects me too, because that makes me feel like the bad guy sometimes. Like, they don't feel like they have the freedom to act out. I don't want them to act out by any stretch of the imagination because I will smack my kids.
100%.
But I feel guilty about it sometimes. Like I'm doing something wrong. Like, okay, it's been said by many people, even in our circle of friends, that
we are too hard
that
on the
I
kids.
Specifically am too hard on the kids.
I thought that was a we thing.
I think it was more of a
you.
Robert's too hard on the kids, and like you just kind of go along with it because you like have to or something. I don't know.
No, I don't have to. I'm an asshole just as much.
I agree, but
you are. Well, not just as much, but
I hear that, and on the one hand, it's like, yeah, what the fuck ever. My kids are well behaved. I don't give a shit. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, maybe there's something to that. And I have been working to be a little bit more easygoing and kind of go with the flow, like just whatever happens. How are we going to fix it type thing. And I think I've gotten a little bit better about that.
You have a lot.
Where I don't feel like I have to micromanage every single thing about the kids' lives, where it's just like, okay, you want to do this. What do you need to do to make that happen?
Well, you don't have
what
to be
do
the strong
you
arm.
need to do to make that happen? Not how can I help you? Not that I don't help the kids, obviously, but how are you going to make this happen? And if you need something, then how can I help you?
But being the bad guy kind of comes with being the, full-time parents, because you have to, me, I'm not religious at all. And even
that's a whole nother topic for discussion.
Yeah. But, and I'm not saying beat your kids with rods. I just want to put that caveat
or stick them in a fucking closet or whatever the fuck these dumb shits do.
The whole spare the rod, spoil the child. There is a little bit of truth to that. No, do not beat your kids.
No.
Do not abuse your children. We know that.
However, there are
But
times that warrant
you have to be
an
a
ass
strong.
whooping.
Yeah, you have to be a strong.
And I don't mean like whipping them. I mean, like the term we grew up with. You gonna catch an ass whoop whenever you get home.
Yeah, like, oh, do we need to have a conversation in the bathroom?
Yeah, that type of shit.
No, we don't. No, not even a little bit.
Or mom in church, whenever she would get underneath the arm and fucking twist that skin that's like right above your ribs. Ugh. Hate that shit. I still cringe anytime you get close to that area.
There is some truth to that, unfortunately, biblical adage. If you let them do whatever they want, they will do whatever they want, and
it'll
lose
turn into
control.
fucking Sodom and Gomorrah. Just look at how the fucking generation is now. They're sexting each other at like 12, 13 years old type shit.
Yeah, like there's kids in Kaylee's class that, the teacher has flat out said, I can't even get help from the parents. The parents will change their phone numbers.
Or block her number.
Or block
whatever
her
the situation
number.
is.
Or the school's number.
And that's ridiculous.
When it comes to discipline and everything like that, it's like, no, you need to raise your child. You need to be that strong arm because...
But see, people are more concerned about being friends to their children than parents. And that's a fucking problem.
Granted, you chose to give birth. You choose to make your children.
But see, that's not true with everybody. Sometimes there were just kids that got fucking knocked up. And they keep that mindset that, oh, this is a burden type thing. Instead of looking at it like we do, this is not a burden, it is a challenge. We are trying to figure out how to make this work. Not everybody is wired like we are in that aspect to where if we're presented with adversity, we try to overcome it and make something better on the other side. There's some people that just get stuck in that, like...
Fuck it all.
Oh, well, I had a kid at, I don't know, pick a fucking age.
16,
and this has hindered my life, and I'm not going to get to be a wild 20-year-old because I have a kid. But then they end up being a wild fucking 20-year-old and do whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't get that.
I just think that being the bad guy, yeah, it sucks. And it's heartbreaking at times where, you feel your kids hate you and you don't want your kids to hate you. But at the same time...
I have told you several times that I know the kids are going to hate me at some point.
But at the same time, it comes with the territory and it needs to happen because while you did choose to have your children, you are not their friends. You are not...
You can be their friend.
Once they're older, I
no,
believe
not
so.
even that. Because, I mean...
No, I mean, even at Chris's age. Like, once they're a little bit older. Once they
understand and respect the boundaries and the dynamic of the relationship, then, like Chris, I mean, he gets to hang out with all the adults a little bit more than the other ones do.
Because
Kaylee's starting to get there, but she doesn't want to hear half the shit that we say.
This is true.
Chris thinks it's funny whenever all of us are just...
We're crass.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. But he enjoys hearing all of that.
Yeah, feels like
he feels
like
included. He feels like an adult, and I think that is okay because he knows that there's a certain time where he needs to shut the fuck up and listen to the adults. And he just like any other kid, he pushes those boundaries occasionally. But it's a quick fix. Either me, you, Mandy, or Gabriel will look at him and be like, "Hey, that's enough." And then he's like, "Oh, my bad." And he immediately stops and goes back into the kid mode where he's like, "Okay, these aren't my homies anymore. I gotta focus on what they're telling me to do right now."
Yeah, I need to see where that boundary is and not go there again today.
But it's a trial and error thing. I mean, that we all did that. Where it's just like, see what we could get away with. Some of us more than others.
Yeah, that's true. Being the bad guy isn't all bad. No. Unfortunately.
And it shouldn't be all bad. It should be one of those things where it's just like you understand that you are going to be their best friend sometimes. They're going to love you more than anybody at times. But you also have to take the inverse of that where you're going to have to be a parent and you are going to have to piss your kids off sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like the shit that we were talking to Chris the other day about where certain situations arose and we're like, look, this is the way it needs to be. And I was very frank and matter of fact with him. And I was like, and if it's not this way, this is going away, period. And he got super pissed about it. He didn't lash out. He didn't say anything, but I know my son. he had that look on his face, and you've seen that look a million times from me.
That motherfucker look.
Yeah, he's like,
Fuck you
fucking bitch. Like, no, I'm not listening to that. But then you have that conversation, be like, look, I know you're pissed off at me, but I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
And the next day, he handled the situation like
the
you
way
said
that
so.
I thought it should be handled, and everything worked out exactly the way I thought it would.
Yes.
Which, I got more life experience than him. No shit, I know what I'm talking about.
And that just comes with, that's the growing pains of growing. You think that, oh, your parents...
You think you're invincible, you think you're smarter than everybody. Oh, well, they've never been in my position, blah, 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 blah. Which is entirely bullshit.
100%.
It was a little bit different for me growing up because there was such an age gap between me and Grandma and Grandpa. So there were situations that were unique to me that they did not go through. But overall, it's the same. It's like we were talking about with authors. It's the same story. There's a beginning, middle, and end. There's protagonist, antagonist. It's a formulaic thing. It's just how far removed are you from it?
But overall, I think that to any parents that are listening that may feel guilt about
needing to take time, needing to have that decompression period to where you can just get away from your kids for a while.
Feeling like you're the asshole, that your kids hate you, or one day, and it may take years, and I've had to come to grips with this personally, especially as a step parent, that they're not going to like you all the time. They're going to be mad at you.
And that's okay.
And that's your job.
Because overall, at some point, like with me, with Grandma and Grandpa, whenever I finally came to that realization, the light went on and I was just like, fuck, this is exactly what they were talking about. This is why they did that. Why did I not see that? Why did I not understand that as a kid? Because you take advantage as a child and not appreciate the situation that you're in. You look at the bad part of it because we're all brooding, angsty fucking teenagers instead of focusing
on the
good aspect of it. I always had food on my plate. I always had a roof over my head. I always had electricity. I always was able to take a shower, whatever the fuck. And I know that sounds minimalist as fuck, but it's true. Like, you start thinking about the third world countries and all that fucking bullshit. They don't have any of that.
No.
You know, and it's perspective. And like, you have to put it in perspective.
It is. But just know that you're not alone. We all feel guilty. We all feel like we're not good enough, that we're fucking it up, that we're the bad guys.
And we might be.
And that's
all
fine.
Of those things.
Now, all of it. Just know you're not alone. And, that to take care of yourself, because there's an old adage, and I'm probably going to fuck it up, but you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to restore yourself. You have to be 100% up to snuff. You have to take care of your health. You have to take care of your body, mind, soul, all that.
You're going to listen back to this, right?
Maybe. But you have to, in order to be the best mom or dad you can.
Husband, wife,
person. You have to, friend. You can't be
a good friend if you don't give a shit about yourself. It's just impossible.
This is true.
You can't be a good anything unless you're good to yourself.
As the illustrious royal RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen? Amen.
Oh, yeah, was I supposed to say amen?
No, I did my own amen. You don't watch the show with me.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I know who RuPaul is.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
RuPaul.
Yeah. So again, you're not alone. You're doing the best you can with what you got. So thank you for listening, if you're still listening, hopefully. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter. If you have any show suggestions, any questions, comments, anything like that, you can message us on Twitter at To Raise a Child. You can just tweet. If you want us to shut the hell up, that's fine too.
You can tweet that too. We ain't going to listen, but you can tweet it.
I might cry. Not really. Actually, I just laugh through my tears.
She's not lying either.
I'm not. But, You know, you're not alone. Thanks for listening.